They are hungry. They're motivated. This is a group that, quite honestly, they're not looking at the past. They really do have their eye on what's possible moving forward. And they've done a really good job and invested a lot of time and energy in making sure that next year looks different. The conversations that are taking place from a culture standpoint and expectations has been a lot of fun to be a part of. It's real. I think it's sustainable. So yeah, I've been highly encouraged by the off season. Yeah.
When we talked to Sonny today, he talked about this conversation with Bo in the off season.
Sure.
And some of the support structures for pitchers that he asked about that he was hoping to develop here. Can you sort of speak to how that's changed over the winter and maybe what role that Dean and DC and those guys are going to have in that?
Yeah, they're going to have important roles, and those are positions that we were eyeing towards the end of the year. If you think back to, I think Derek mentioned it during the year when we brought Dean with us on the road, and he was with us for an extended period of time towards the end of the year. It was a good time to be around him and understand how he thinks and the value that he would bring to a club at the big league level, and just understanding more of his skill set. So I'm really excited that he's joining us. DC on the tech side, same thing. This is a guy that just finds solutions for things, and the combination of those two guys are going to be important, not only for the pitching side with Dean, but I mean, you're using so many different technologies on the hitting side, pitching side, and having someone like DC and his experience is important as well.
Palante was saying he had Dean, I guess, in the fall league, and then he had him throughout the system as well. And one of the things he mentioned was that he was really good at live react, watch react, get to you immediately during the game. Is that an area where you all felt like last year, whether with your staffing or whatever else, that was a place where you wanted to focus some of that build up this year?
Well, the reality is you have so much more information available to you. You have a lot more ways to advance the opposition. You have a lot more technology to help make adjustments when it comes to mechanics on the pitching side, on the hitting side. So increasing the number of staff only makes sense. You only have so many hours in a day, and you want to make sure that certain positions are really intentional about being relational with the player, being available to the player. So the more that you're head down in some of the tech stuff and the numbers and advancing, the less one-on-one time you have with players. So increasing the staff allows for us to do both.
Oli, was there a lot of player feedback in that regard, in just terms of maybe the staff being spread a little thin last year? Because they've been pretty candid about how much they enjoy working with the staff, just maybe not enough effect last year.
That's a good way to put it. They enjoy it, but there wasn't enough of us to go around. But it's something, prior to the feedback, it's something that we were looking at. Just good conversations with Mo and our staff and understanding, hey, here's what we think is needed, and then identifying those that we felt like could do the job.
Well, another staff change, was bench coach. What kind of went into thinking of the search and the identification of Daniel Descalso?
I love Daniel Descalso, everything he brings to the table, from his personality to his accountability to his experience in the game. He's a winner. He does a really good job of being direct with players, but he does it in a way where he's just continuously earning their trust. So this is a guy that, man, I've had a lot of respect for. We came through the organization in the minor leagues together, so we have a relationship, and I've wanted him here for a couple of years, so it's good to bring him in. And,
you kind of had your eye on him before.
I did, and I'm really looking forward to having Daniel be a part of the staff. He's going to have a huge impact. Not only, the relationships with our young guys, he's super relatable, but he has a good relationship with our veteran group, with our catcher, with Wilson, with Nolan, with Goldie. So I think it's the perfect fit in the right time.
Oli, when you look at the hires that you've made or tried to make with that position, whether Holiday, Descalso, Skip, they're all guys that are seen as rising managerial candidates.
Yeah.
What is it that you view with that position that you're trying to get out of it?
I think, for me, that position, I want to hire somebody that can replace me. You want to surround yourself with people that that can challenge you, that could, I mean, if you think about those names, those are guys that can manage, and Scalzo's going to manage at some point. So I'm constantly looking at that position as one that, man, they have the qualities to be a manager, and Skip's done a nice job. I think Matt, at some point, will jump in and do a really good job, and Scalzo is no different.
Oli, that phrasing you used, I wonder, for you, what is it that allows you to be comfortable, having somebody, like you said, who you feel like could replace you and not worrying about the possibility of that? Just because you phrase it that way.
No, that's fine. It's a high-stake environment. If you're insecure, then the seat's not for you. It's just as simple as that. You want the best people around you at all times, and that means you're hiring people that can also one day do your job. I think that's the best way to do it. So this isn't a matter of kind of skating around, man, maybe one day. That doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. I want the best people in that clubhouse, in that dugout, on our staff, and I'll continue to do that.
Much has been made in here the last couple of days about these new pitchers and them bringing leadership into that clubhouse. Can you speak to that, and not even from a on the mound standpoint, but just these guys in the clubhouse and maybe what they're doing that wasn't going on as much last year?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every move that has been made has been with a purpose. These guys are going to add to the win column, no doubt about that. That's why they're here. But they're also going to do a really good job of speaking life into that clubhouse. And when you look at Sonny Gray, this guy, I mean, can't say it enough. He's just a competitor. He wakes up and he wants to kill. I love the way he thinks about the game. He's a student of the game, but he loves bringing people alongside with him. And Lance Lynn and Gibson are no different. These are guys that are hungry to win, but also love and know what it takes to bring a club together. And when you talk about a sustainable culture, that's extremely important. So conversations with those guys this offseason have been tremendous. I mean, I couldn't be happier with how that's gone, both on the pitching side, the position player side. There's a lot of time invested in making sure that we get this right. And bottom line is this. Can you create a culture where we truly trust each other in that clubhouse? You do that and you'll be fine. And these guys have invested a decent amount of time to make sure that happens.
Oli, Mo said in talking to Lance Lynn that he's motivated by what happened last season.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be giving up 44 home runs, and he thinks there's things the ballpark will help, your coaching staff can help him. What have you learned about him in talks with Lance?
That it's great when you have a veteran that's constantly looking to get better. Yes, I do think the ballpark will help, but he's not relying on just the ballpark to help him not give up homers, right? This is a guy that has identified a couple things that will help, and we won't get into exactly what those are, but he's working hard to make sure that last year's behind him, and he bounces back. Highly motivated.
I'm going to go back to surrounding yourself with people that can relate to wanting the best, probably wanting the best people around you, more than that. How did that factor into the organization's decision to bring Yachty in, and what do you see him doing with your coaching staff?
I had numerous conversations with Yachty at all times of the day over the last couple months, leading into him accepting the position to join us. And at the end of the day, I wanted him around as much as possible. I have a good relationship with Yachty. I respect him a ton. We worked well together. And, we went back and forth. My hope was to have him in our dugout often. Timing's not right for that just yet. So, but having any bit of Yachty is definitely a good thing.
Do you see him doing, when he is here, more things with your catching, or with your young catchers?
That's our hope.
Staff?
Yeah, our hope is that, and there's already conversations with him and Wilson, but that he continues to pour into Herrera and our younger catchers that aren't here yet. He's passionate about that, but he's also passionate about learning what it looks like to be on this side of it. He's managed a couple different teams in Puerto Rico and in the winter, but he's hungry to understand the ins and outs of what it looks like to be a coach at the big league level. His mind for the game is incredible, and that's a given. We know that. We saw it for a couple decades here. But he's still hungry to understand what this looks like. So he's going to be around, and my hope is more often than not.
Oli, I'm curious when it comes to the new group of starting pitchers that we talked about and how innings is such a priority.
Yeah.
Those guys that fill innings, take the ball, they have those characteristics and qualities. Do you feel that with this group of starters that you have, maybe compared to last year, it will provide or cause a shift for you in terms of the way you view pulling a starter and when you would look to do that in terms of the guys that you have, their value could be going 6, 7 and maybe working through some stuff? Is that
that's our hope. That's our hope, is that there's less innings out of the pen. You pull a pitcher when you no longer think they can do the job. But these are guys that have been tested, that understand the ins and outs of competing at this level. They're not wide-eyed. They've been around. They've had success. They've also taken their beatings, and they don't ride the emotional roller coaster that a rookie would ride. So that earns trust. So I look forward to that, no doubt.
We'll talk about leadership in the clubhouse. One of the names that's come up a lot this weekend is Brendan Donovan. Can you speak to what his leadership role is on this club?
It's not so much leadership role as much as guys being invested and having skin in the game and caring. And it's not hey, these are my 3 leaders on the position player side. Here are my 3 leaders. It's getting that amount of buy-in from everybody. Do you really care about the St. Louis Cardinals and this team, or do you care about yourself? And I think it's pretty obvious when you see Donovan sit up here and you have a 5-minute conversation with him what he cares about. He cares about winning. I mean, this guy is a Cardinal. Every conversation, and I've had plenty of them this offseason with Donovan, revolves around how we get guys to buy in to one common vision and one common language, and that's trusting each other. And he's invested well in himself to grow in those areas, but he's also challenging others to do the same. And the more guys you have doing that, talent aside, that's what you want.
Big picture-wise, is that kind of what this season is about for you? Is not so much stats and getting this rotational work, but more getting everybody to be team first?
That's it. If I can narrow it down to one thing, you get those guys to truly trust each other, and everything else falls into place. So, yes.
Is spring training going to look different for you this year in terms of maybe trying to do some things different? Last year was weird, World Baseball Classic. Are you changing some things in spring training that you wouldn't have done before to try to get some results you want to see?
Quite honestly, it'll be nice to just have the entire team there the whole time, right? I look back at our spring training in 2022, and I was very, very happy with it. Last year, it was difficult to gain any momentum, even when you're covering fundamentals, right? You don't have your infield, and you're covering bunt plays and first and thirds and rundowns and all types of things, and you're doing it with the guys that aren't on your club. So just having everybody there together from day one allows for that to take place easier. You're having meaningful meetings every day before the day starts, and your actual club that's coming to St. Louis is there to start to invest in those meetings and speak into them and take ownership over them. So, yeah, I look forward to that. From a change standpoint, not entirely. I mean, our attention to detail is going to be there. Our emphasis on doing the small things well, it's going to be there. So, yeah.
Oli, when you think about Wilson and Yachty,
yeah.
You talked about sort of having him there. How do you feel like that dynamic will play out? I mean, I think part of the early rough patch for Wilson was the fact that he was replacing Yachty, and everybody had been used to him for so long. how do you feel like now having Yadi around, that dynamic will play out for the two of them?
Yeah, there's a good relationship there. I'm not worried about that at all. There's no ego. Wilson, at the end of the day, just wants to get better, and he wants to get better every day. And he sees Yadi as someone that could do that. So there's not an ego here of I'm replacing him, and it's simply this is a guy that did it well for a very long time, and there's a lot of things I can learn from him. So when he's around, I'm gonna do exactly that.
Do you really think that he'll still be able to sort of put his own sort of stamp on? I guess that's more what I meant, like with Yadi still around too.
Yes, his personality. He sat here in his initial press conference and said, "I'm not trying to be Yadi. I'm going to be Wilson Contreras," and he just wants to be a better version of Wilson Contreras. So yeah, I don't see that as an issue.
You're going into your third year. Obviously, you've changed as a manager from the first time we talked on Zoom when you got hired to last offseason. How do you take those first 2 years molding you into a manager who you'll be in year three?
Oh man, you learn a lot. You have a positive season in 22. You have a season in 23 that wasn't so positive. It was a difficult year, and you learn a lot about yourself. Last year, and I said this last night at the dinner, it tested my character. It really did. It makes you sit back and really think through what went well, what didn't, and what I would do different. And the reality is, I needed to be better. Last year wasn't good enough, and our staff needs to be better. But that starts with me. So I've said it plenty. We're looking ahead, but last year was unacceptable from what it looked like standpoint, and so you learn a lot from that. You really do.
Ben asked about spring training last year. If there was a word that was kicked around a lot at spring training was opportunity. We had spots in the bullpen for young guys to win, a spot in the rotation for a young guy to win. Right field was there for someone to win. As you sit today, you could write out your lineup, all 8 positions, DH. You could also write out your rotation, probably write out your bullpen.
Yeah.
What does that change about spring training, the idea of creating competition, the opportunities that some of the young guys have, and also maybe how you can maybe focus on the edges a little bit of a roster?
Yes. I think that's an important part to what Ben was saying when it comes to there is some certainty going into the season as to what guys' roles are going to look like. Competition is a good thing. I love competition. It drives you to be better. So there's still going to be competition, but it's also nice for guys to know coming in where they stand and what this is going to look like, because it allows you to focus on becoming a team and running in the same direction and focusing on some of the things that I was speaking to before. So I'm excited about that part of it. I really am.
With Victor Scott II from roster in 19, what have you been able to learn about him and just what he's done over the past year?
Confident kid, which is you need it to play at this level. I had an opportunity to kind of spend a little bit of time with him yesterday and meet his family, and I look forward to seeing him on the field. I haven't been around him a ton during the previous springs, so I hear a lot of good things about him. He's maturing as a hitter. His defense is unreal, and he could obviously steal a base. So he's an exciting player. We have several of them coming up that are exciting players. I look forward to seeing them for sure.
Yeah, along the lines of stolen bases, can you describe your philosophy kind of heading into this year? We saw the Diamondbacks, of course, maximize that stealing bases, and now with Mason on the team and the whole thing. Can you describe how stolen bases can enhance your team and how you hope to utilize it?
Yeah, prior to the rule changes, we were pretty aggressive in how we thought about stealing bases and taking every opportunity to do so. That doesn't change. We have some guys in Mason and Scott coming up that can do that at a high rate, but it doesn't change how we think about stealing bases. If there's an opportunity there, if there's a tell where we think the success rate is going to be high, then we've been pretty aggressive about taking that. So our strategy there doesn't change one bit.
Can I ask what impressed you about the Diamondbacks, just in general, about utilizing that at such a high level going to the World Series?
They had guys that could do it. Yeah, that speed. So it makes it helps a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you guys didn't mess with your offense, your position players. You had a top 10 offense last year, but how much do you go in saying there's more there with Newt, there's more there with Walker that's coming, Wynn can be better, Gorman, if you can keep him healthy, he may be a 40 home run guy, but there's more there.
And that's what you're counting on is another year of experience. Newt Bar understands himself even more now. Gorman understands himself, and he's made adjustments. You look at, you're going to have a healthy Donovan, a healthy Eddie. I mean, you look at that lineup and you can get excited about it because yes, they were a top 10 offense, and I think they're going to be a top 5 offense. I mean, this is a group that is hungry, but you're layering in another year of them understanding what this league's all about. So that's how.
Newt said yesterday, he said, a motivated Nolan is a scary Nolan. What have your conversations been like there?
Yeah, he's motivated, and I'll keep this one short. I'm really looking forward to seeing him this year. Yeah.
Were you motivated at all by your own contract status for this year?
That's not a motivator for me. I think if you look at it that way, then the hell were you doing the previous 2 years if you're motivated now, you know? So I don't think of that in that sense, no. For 18 years, I've woken up and wanted to make St. Louis Cardinals better, so this is no different. Yeah.
So much focus on the pitching addition you guys have made, you know, the rotation. What's your confidence level with the guys you've got coming back, having bounce back performances? Miles, Steven, Nats, like just they're penciled into your rotation for the years they've had. Seems like their improvement is going to be a big factor for your rotation.
When you talk about motivated, Miles is motivated. He's not happy with what took place last year, personally, and team-wise, obviously. But there's some adjustments being made there with how he uses his stuff that I think could be helpful. When Matz came back from the bullpen into the rotation, those were the strongest 6 weeks of his career. We were seeing a really good version of him, and I don't think it was a fluke. This is something that I think we can see moving forward. So keeping him healthy is important, but I think we will see a better version of him.
Oli, with the way that you guys have described kind of your ideal defensive alignment with Tommy being in center and Mason at short, Mason obviously is a really key cog, him being able to kind of take that next step to allowing that to play out. What's your confidence in a guy at his age that kind of just got his feet wet, but that you guys are kind of basing your best version of yourself around it involves him?
Yeah, and that's not added pressure. It's just the reality. This is a really good defender that can solidify the shortstop position, which allows us to have, in my opinion, a Gold Glove center fielder. And he's eyeing that as an opportunity to run with it. What I love about him, and he doesn't scare, and that's a good trait to have. He embraces competition. He loves it. So our hope is that he can come in and take hold of it. Because if he does, we're better in other areas as well.
With the last 2 years, we've talked a lot about swinging and stuff and what you can get out of the bullpen. This offseason seems like you guys have added a lot of that to that specific area. What do those guys allow you to do that you've added when it comes to the flexibility within that bullpen heading into the season?
Yeah, it does give you the ability to mix and match a little bit. There are some guys that we've brought in that will miss more bats. That's important. You're smiling because you know I love that. But yeah, when you look at Helsley and JoJo and you go down that list, now you do have some firepower in addition to what was brought in that allows you to look at that bullpen and shorten some games. So it'll be good to see them in person and see their stuff live. So I look forward to that.
Kittredge specifically, I think Mo said yesterday or the other day that he's pitched in every inning a
Correct.
couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When you have a guy that's willing to accept all of those different roles, regardless of when he's inserted into the game, what does that do for a manager? That's
helpful. Not being high maintenance and just being able to say, hey, pitch me the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, like just hand me the ball whenever you think it's my time to help, then that's good to have. And he's been tested. He's thrown those high leverage innings, and he understands what that looks like, and he can handle the pressure of those situations, which is helpful. But to not have an ego and just say, hand me the ball whenever needed, I love that.
Oli, when you look at your pitching staff, specifically like bullpen and the rotation is very seasoned, and a lot of them know what they do well and what they need to do to perform. The bullpen, is that maybe where the overlap of what Jeff was asking about the support staff? That there's some pitchers out there, some guys you acquired, who coached up, who could, like, if they, what you see in their pitches or what you see in their usage, that there's an element there of
to double down on certain pitch, eliminate a pitch, being able to change the shape of something. Yeah, and that's the part that I meant with, you want certain coaches readily available to do that, and where that's their focus and their attention, and they can start to invest time to gain the trust, so that when you say, hey, we need to do this or we need to eliminate this, that there's a relationship there that they trust. If you're head down in a computer all day, it's tough you miss certain opportunities, and we want to make sure that we're not missing anything. So the extra staff allows for that.
Is that the game now in the bullpen? I'm like, is that like the modern baseball game in the bullpen? Is find this group, find that pitch, maximize it. Find a way to maximize both. It used to be like a matchup game. Now it's almost like down to the granular pitch. Can't find the pitch that makes it work.
Yeah, but it also has to match your, just use the word courage. Like, yes, you have to be able to. It's one thing to have a pitch. It's another thing when you're called upon to use it in a big situation, to be able to stomach it. And you're trying to develop both sides of it, the technical, mechanical side of performing well, and then the mental and emotional side of being able to handle the big leagues. And there's a lot that goes into that. So with more information, there's more staff to be able to do both of those well.
What have been your conversations with Jordan Walker ramping up to his second full season in the league?
My conversations with him?
Yeah.
Those conversations started early on. I called Jose Oquendo and I asked, hey, can you be at the field often in Jupiter? And he never shies away from that. He loves it. So his special project was Jordan's going to come down there for a while. He wants to make Jupiter where he spends a big part of his off season, and can you wear him out? Just go through the most detailed progression possible to make sure that when we all report to spring and Willie gets a hold of him, that we're headed in the right direction. And he committed to that. He was excited about it. Oquendo was, and Jordan was excited about it. He's hungry to improve. He really is. So it's a great combination. I trust Cheo a ton. So I'm glad that worked out.
Oli, to go back to BB's point about bullpen flexibility.
Sure.
Would it be fair to say that that's a trait this organization targeted in off-season additions there? Because you have guys like Gio, Romero, John King that can do that. But was it a goal of this team to kind of structure an entire bullpen with that trait?
Correct. That's why I said every single person brought in was very strategic. There's a purpose behind all of them, and the puzzle pieces are coming together really well. So, yes, to answer your question.
To Derek and Lynn's point about your ability to sort of pencil things in right now, how excited are you to see Sonny Gray take on the challenge of the Dodgers on opening day at Dodger Stadium?
Someone had to ask.
That's right.
Rotation.
You want the entire rotation, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Usually somebody asks.
Usually wait till spring,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, Commissioner would be asking you right now.
He would. That's why I liked him.
Oli, we talked the other day with Alec Burleson, and he mentioned how you guys.
Did he tell you lost weight and he's faster?
Yeah, and he said it was because of conversations that he had with you guys, and he said that he appreciated that it was candid, and that you guys told him specifically what he needed to work on.
Yeah.
You mentioned going into the offseason that there were going to be a lot of those candid conversations. From where you were at that point in the offseason to where you are today, how do you feel like progress has been from those conversations?
It's been awesome. It's something we're proud about. I'll try to keep this short. At the end of the day, when you go on certain runs, 162 games is a long season. And you're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs. And how well can you take the downs, the downside of the season. You go on certain stretches that just quite simply suck. And if you're in that clubhouse and you have a group that truly trust each other, and what I mean, like, love the grind together, like they truly trust each other. They're not, hey, I hope this guy doesn't do well so I get my opportunity. No, they're in it for one reason, and it has nothing to do with what's on their back. Like, they truly trust coming together as a club, grinding through it. They know about each other. They know about each other's families. They're grinding in one direction. When you can do that, good things happen, and you have a sustainable culture for a very long time. So that's the aim. That's all I care about right now.
You mentioned trust a number of times.
You're going to hear it a whole lot.
How do you build that? Because it's easy to lose in hard games, what they say.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build that in the offseason?
It starts with being honest. And that's both ways. That's not just having candid conversations and let you know what I think about you. You get the opportunity to do the same. And you guys have heard that word enough. But that's how it starts, is you sit down with guys and you say, here's what I think is possible for you. Here's how I think you're going to get there. And then you point out whatever they're doing that's either leading in that direction or not. And you start to build that relationship, and them knowing that the reason I'm telling you this is because I think you can actually achieve it. So let's get there together. But that's a process. It's not one conversation. It's a daily thing that keeps guys on a track. And what they've been good about is giving us permission as a staff to hold them accountable to those things. Some guys don't want to be held accountable. That doesn't fit here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oli, these are principles that have always been important to you, but what has been kind of the process, or I guess the realization of maybe the way y'all want to hone in more on that following last year, in the midst of last year, now moving toward what you want to be a better tomorrow?
Yeah, and this is where I don't want to get into last year as much as I want to talk about. No, but it's a fair question. I don't feel like that was our strong suit last year, and teams that are good have that, bottom line. But it's on me to kind of develop that and grow that. So it's on nobody else other than me when it comes to that being good or not being good. Last year wasn't good. That's on me. Yeah.
We've debated the importance or overrated definition of quality starts before. With what you guys experienced last season, with what you've added this off season, I mean, with what you want to do in the bullpen, isn't a lot of this boil down to you got to get regular starts that get you to the bullpen in the way you want to use it most often?
Yes.
Is that kind of like the most important? The stat can be debated, but isn't that the most, whatever you want to call it, a quality start, maybe not by the definition, seems to be like it's going to be the kind of the most important thing to the season.
And the guys we brought in have pride in doing that. So that was intentional as well. If they do their jobs, we can go to the pen and use them the way they need to be used. Should lead to more success. Yeah.
Good time for one more, and then I got to get Oli over to Ballpark Village. Any last question?
Thanks, Brian.
Oli, haven't really talked much about defense. It's good to have versatile guys, but it's also good to have a stable lineup. How do you weigh those two?
That's actually well put. I like the flexibility of having the Donovan that can play anywhere and Eddie that can play anywhere. But it is nice for guys to show up every day and know exactly where they're going to play. And that doesn't mean that you can't give a guy a day off and throw Donnie over a third and mix guys around. But it is nice to be able to come in knowing I'm playing short. And I'll play short tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And when I need a day off, that's fine, but I'm the shortstop. I'm going to play center field every day. So it is nice mentally for these guys to know and have some continuity in where they're going to be every day. So that's something that I'm also looking forward to.